All right. Well, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the show. As you can tell I guess it would be my left, there's a different host on here with me tonight. Pansy's sitting this one out. She's not feeling well, and she's taking care of some stuff too. So we'll see her on the next episode. But she's actually in the audience. She's kind of hanging out with us. She might chime in. We'll see how she feels. But
Hi, everyone.
yeah, that's her voice in the background. But thank you all for being here. Thanks for jumping into the show. And hope you guys all had a good, productive Friday today. James, thank you for joining me today, man. I appreciate you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely, man. Actually, we got some friends here. You guys, for folks watching or listening, you can't see them or hear them at the moment, but they're in the background. Chris Marie and Kathleen, thank you guys for jumping in as well. So interesting episode for tonight. I mean, this is our 60th episode, first of all. I'm a little upset that we didn't have Pansy and you and all of us on here, but together hosting
We'll
it.
get
But
one.
life happens, man. It's all good. So, but it's our 60th episode, so it's kind of a milestone for us. And I'm just so I just want to say a few words of gratitude here because again, we're gonna talk about this as we get into this too, but I always start my day with gratitude and end my day with gratitude now, and it makes such a huge difference and I'm getting myself into that habit, right? And in building that habit. But I just want to say how grateful I am for my partner Pansy, for people like you, James, in my life and helping with our business and everything. I'm just super grateful for how far we've come. We got a ways to go, but things are happening and it's just proof that if you stay consistent and really no matter what, just keep at it, things are going to happen for you. So I just want to say how grateful I am for everybody and for where we're at, even though look, it takes time. We're not, I haven't hit the North Star yet, but that's the way it goes. You aim for it. You do your best to plan and organize yourself and just be consistent and keep after it, right? So we'll get into that, but I don't know, James, how do you feel about some of this? I know we haven't really gotten into, really talking about everything yet, but what's your feelings about gratitude specifically? I'm curious.
Oh, honestly, I've had a little bit of a pivot in the way that I even look at gratitude, especially more recently, to be honest.
Yeah,
Um, I do want to double back right before that when you were
sure.
talking about the North Star.
Hmm.
Um, I love that, dude. And thanks for letting everybody know that as well. There's something that I had heard from Maxwell through one of his programs that I went through that kind of stuck with me was it's great to have a big picture, have
Hmm.
that big picture, but make sure it's expandable because things are going to change along the way and be
Absolutely.
open for that.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think you guys are a wonderful testament for that as well. I've loved being able to see you guys grow and
Yeah.
everything that you guys are doing and where you're going.
Yeah. Well, and look, I appreciate your input has been very valuable to me. Look, I'm not so egotistical that I can't take a step back and look at my situation and recognize where there's places that I'm lacking or there's gaps that I need to make up, right? And
Yep.
I don't think I know it all. In fact, I think the opposite most times. I feel like a lot of times I feel like a baby still in a lot of cases, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty normal as you start building something or as you start going down, a path of um fixing your life, building a business, whatever it may be. Like you always feel like you're taking two steps forward and two steps back. It just feels like that for a while. And so actually somebody told me once before, it's like if you don't feel like you're kind of what's the right word to
Cha
use
cha.
here? But you know what I'm saying. If you don't feel that tension, if you don't feel that pushback, like, and you feel like you're, at times like you're stagnant, even though Pansy will tell you, like, Pansy and I both have a lot of stuff that we're working on, a lot of things that we're doing, and we're constantly busy.
Mhm.
But despite all of that, sometimes it really feels like we're not moving, even though you are. Like you're moving, like you're going a direction, you're getting there. So, anyways, the point I'm making is if you're not feeling that pushback, if you're not getting that sense of, sometimes things just you feel like you're learning things over again, if that makes sense, then
Yeah.
you're probably not you're probably doing something maybe a little wrong, right? I don't
Yeah,
know.
when
You
you
can tell
see
me how
that
you feel.
cycle that comes back, I
Yeah,
know we've had quite a few really, really good conversations that we've dove pretty deep into some of that stuff. Eh, In
yeah,
my humble opinion, in that area, and again, I've seen it within you as well, like just the humbleness alone of understanding that, hey, there's still things that there's still room for growth.
yeah,
But it allows that space for you to actually be able to take a step back and look at the things that you truly are grateful for. And I'm not speaking like the money and the materialistic. And we
yeah.
had this conversation, was it the week before last, what we were talking about, some gratitude, and you mentioned it on the last episode of the podcast that you guys had as well.
Hmm. Yep. And I'm starting to bookend my life with gratitude, and it's really like, you know, once you get it, you get it. And for me, I've always heard people say like you got to be grateful. You got to think about the things you're grateful, and you kind of like you roll your eyes like, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I know what I'm grateful for, like whatever. But once you understand that, especially starting your day, being grateful for something, looking at something, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. It literally sets your direction for the rest of your day. Just like being pissed off and angry about something will set the direction for the rest of your day, right?
It does. Dude, that gratitude is one of the best best forms and example if you were to give anybody for low-hanging
Yeah.
fruit.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. Well, real quick, James, and I know most of the folks here know you, James, but for people that are listening and maybe haven't heard you yet, give us a little rundown of who you are, what you're doing, and kind of how you got into this whole, mindset and growth, business development space, if you will.
Okay, I'll try to make it short. This
Now
is
go
a
for go.
really long
Take your
story,
take your
but
time. We got an hour, man. Take your time. It's all good.
I could easily take up that whole hour.
Well, don't take the
I'm
whole
just
hour,
Yeah,
man.
you have an hour and you don't have to share it with me. So,
kidding. Um, So for anybody listening, anybody that's new here to Justin and Pansy's Friends with Benefits podcast, my name is James. I've had the pleasure of knowing both Pansy a little bit longer than Justin, but both of them for quite a while now. We met through the real estate sphere. We met through bigger groups and mentorships. Kind of dove off a little bit on the side of what everybody's building. Before I started jumping into that, I originally come from the culinary industry and I worked my way up the corporate ladder in that setting. And I dropped out right before moving into the HR offices because I realized, hey, the wife's told me enough that there's more for our lives than this, and I need to figure something else out and not stay stuck and stagnant there.
Hmm.
So I jumped into real estate, started with wholesaling, wanted to own, went through a whole year of trying to figure out why things weren't working, why did two teams fail, why wasn't I having any momentum, why didn't I own a property that I wanted to. I dropped out of real estate for a short period of time.
Hmm.
When I came back, still didn't know what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go with it. All I kept thinking was I want to have that duplex to house hack. I ended up linking up with somebody through a mutual friendship from an individual that was on one of the earlier teams that failed. They kind of threw me into an integrator role within a coaching company, which at that point I knew nothing about any of that. So it was another whole new thing. As I was working on the system build out there and just increasing what was coming through from that company, I started to take a little bit more of an internal look of where I actually wanted to be. What role did I actually want to play? What type of business model did I actually want to have? Started investing in some of the bigger names, going to a lot of the really big events, watching and following, seeing people that are a little bit further down the line of the exact path I was in to get an understanding of that's where I wanted to be or not. As I was going through a lot of that, I did a really lot of deep shadow work. And I'm talking for a couple months where I went dark, even from my own family, and just hung out like a gremlin in the corner.
Well, you were finding your clarity at at that stage, right?
Yeah, I
Essentially.
was trying
Yeah.
to find the clarity of that moment. And things weren't going the greatest with that company that was being built.
Hmm.
And I just so happened to end up taking a call with a client that was going through the program. And it was a half an hour call that turned into 4.5 hours. And
Oh,
there were a lot
wow.
of questions that were asked. And he's like, hey, nobody's cared enough to ask those types of questions, but they really moved the conversation along. So that gave me the first taste in like what, at least in my mind frame, what coaching really is about
Yeah.
and what being somebody in that position to somebody is really about.
Yeah.
Put a lot of focus on that. Went through a couple of iterations over the last almost 2 years. Started with, helping people specifically just on systems and was working more with integrators. Started moving into working with more visionaries. For some reason, working with a lot of women as opposed to men.
Hmm.
There's more of those over on the visionary side. And
Yeah.
I've got to learn a lot from those individuals as well.
Well, you know what, I'm gonna reiterate something that Pace always says too, is like, for whatever reason, women are just they're just dominating right now, which is great. It's they've been given it's like I don't know what happened, but women have always been really good at just multitasking, visionary type, and very compassionate type work, very, you know, empathetic, compassionate for the most part, and just really good at handling a lot of things, juggling a lot of things at once. And
It goes deeper than that as
it's for
well.
sure it does, but that's
And
been my experience too. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, this is why like someone like a Pace Morby has just a ton of women on his teams, right? And in his businesses, helping him run his businesses, right? There's a
yeah.
reason, right?
And in my humble opinion, and yes, guys, this is a man that is sitting in a Zoom or a
Mansplaining
podcast
about how
telling you
women
guys,
are.
no, not mansplaining, but this is a man that's about to say what I'm about to say.
Oh, okay.
Pansy,
Careful,
yup.
careful.
Pansy, yup, we get it done. What I have found is working with both sexes,
Mhm,
a lot of men that I've spoken to, they'll claim to have no fears, and there is that little bit of ego. But
mhm,
any of the women that I've worked with will say that they have some sort of fear in certain areas, yet they're completely fearless.
mhm,
Pansy's one of the biggest ones that I know about that, actually. We'll put her on the spotlight and put her on blast. She's fearless when it really comes to actually getting things done and
mhm,
and making the moves.
mhm. Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. So let me kick this off a little bit more, because I'd really like to get this conversation. I really want to get your feelings about some of this, because, and again, it's you spent a lot of time trying to gain your clarity, like not trying, but gaining your clarity, and again, doing the two steps forward, three steps back dance, right? Or two steps forward, two steps back dance for a while, right? Going through some maybe businesses that weren't very successful, not knowing exactly where things were going to shake out or where it was going to end up. So if and I'm going to ask all of you guys this: if I was to ask you right now, and I want the honest answer, honest, like I'm not, when I ask you this question, answer it honestly, and you don't have to answer it out loud, but answer it in your head, not the version you'd maybe tell someone at like a networking event, right? I want you to be honest in your mind about this, but what's the real answer? So think about this. I'm going to preface it with that before I ask the question. What do you want? What do you want?
Hmm.
It's kind of so I've asked a lot of people this question, And I'll ask it every so often when I'm at networking events just to see what people say. And I've asked myself that question many, many times too. But you get a lot of people, and again, not when I say what do you want, I'm asking like not what you don't want. A lot of people will answer that question by answering it like saying, well, I don't want to be stuck in a job. I don't want to be you know, what are some good examples? I don't want to be broke. You know, I don't want to look back and feel like I wasted my shot at life. You know, all these things. So they answer the question by answering it with all the things that they don't want, right? And I do that too, actually. You know, because that's kind of where
We're
our
trained
brain
that way.
goes, right? What's
Yeah,
that?
and we're also trained that way. And you know, when a lot of people when they jump into whether it's entrepreneurship or that next level of their life, and they start jumping into whether it's mindset books or podcasts, we hear a lot of individuals, they talk about like what you do when you're starting out and you're trying to figure some things out. And
Hmm.
they'll tell you like, hey, you list all the things that you don't want and then do the
Yeah,
opposite of that, which is amazing advice when you're starting out, and it only gets you so far.
yeah,
Uh, I've definitely seen a huge difference between shifting the thinking of like, hey, how do we shut down listing out the things that I don't want? Because at this point, I've already dictated all of that.
yeah,
I should probably stop thinking about that and actually start naming the things that I want.
yeah. That and that's the right starting to think in that direction is the right direction because again, a lot of people, entrepreneurs, investors, people that I've talked to, people that are truly grinding every single day, people are really working hard. Um, Most of the time they can give me a really detailed list of the things that they don't want. Pansy says, I want to travel. That's freaking amazing. Like that's the right, like picturing that, right? Like I want to be traveling, right? Just being free, just being able to go travel. Like think of how many people do not have that option, right? um and just having that option is something amazing in and of itself, but like they can give me these lists of all the things that they don't want. The problem with that, at least from my perspective, the problem with thinking about the things that you don't want is that's not direction.
No,
That's and also it's putting your brain in lack mode, right? It's thinking in terms of lack. So it's really just avoidance. If you really want to get down to brass tacks, it's really just avoidance.
it
So
really
you
is.
can't
Is
you
there,
can't mhm.
I apologize.
Oh, go for it.
Would it be okay if I give everybody an exercise? Um, Anybody that's in the Zoom right now that can go in the chat. When Justin asked you that question, I know that we have a couple people that popped in the comments and mentioned what they did want. There was a little bit of a timing gap in between that.
Yeah.
Did your brain immediately go to the things that you didn't want before you came up with that? Pop a one in the chat if that's what ended up happening. I know not you.
Pansy's
That has
definitely
not
no.
changed.
Yeah,
That answer
Pansy's
has not
definitely no.
changed for a while.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe the thing is too, like when you're having these conversations with people, you know, face to face,
Yeah,
sometimes people maybe don't want to share their real dream with you. They kind of want to give you maybe more of a wishy-washy answer because they just don't want to actually share it with you, and that's fine too. My
yeah,
whole point is like, okay, if you're not immediately thinking about the things that you don't want, listing out the things in your brain that you don't want, that's good. That's a really good start.
it is.
I
And
would say you're ahead of the game at that point. Yeah.
yeah, and then we end up getting the generic responses, the time
Right.
freedom, financial freedom,
Right.
the independence, the things like that. Which don't get me wrong, I mean they're valid. Everybody wants that.
Yeah.
One of my favorite exercises that I've been having people do, anybody that's jumped on a Zoom with me or that I've had a conversation with, within our first two or three conversations, I've probably already had you run through this exercise. But when you know that somebody's giving you one of those generic answers, or if you're giving yourself the generic answer, I always have everybody like, and I'll ask, hey, are you sitting in front of a computer? Are you on your phone? Are you on your laptop? You know, what device do you have in front of you? All
Yeah.
right, sitting next to that device, there's a picture. And what I would like you to do is pick the picture up, pull it in close, Forget that you're even on the Zoom with me. Pull it in close, take a look at the picture, and tell me the story that that picture is painting.
Ooh.
What's the story attached to that photo if it was 15 years from now? Okay, that's a
Mm.
really good way to truly dive into
Yeah,
what somebody actually wants. And
I like
now
that.
we can start moving into, okay,
I like
well, the
that.
things that you're working on now, are they getting you closer or pulling you away? Now we can figure out where the real work needs to start.
I really like that actually. And you know what? Here's the thing though. A lot of times that people with the whole vision, like really picture it in your mind's eye, this and that. There's a lot of people that have trouble with that. They have trouble visualizing that endpoint or that North Star, right, that they're trying to get to. So if you have trouble with that, if that's something that you maybe you're having more of a fuzzy picture, maybe really know where you want to be, where you want to end up, or where you know your North Star is, but you can't perfectly visualize it. Instead of trying to visualize it, feel the emotions of that, of being in that place, right? Try to feel the emotion of being in that place. What is it going to feel like to you to be in that spot, right?
Yeah.
And that's another really good way. And I'm getting to why this is important here, but James and I'll get to this. But so again, thinking about what you don't want is like again, it's not a direction, it's avoidance. And if we're being completely honest, like you're not moving towards something in with that mode of thinking. You're just trying to move away from something. And if you're not clear on that, most people don't have that clear
Mm.
place that they're trying to get to, right? I mean, think about how much time you had to spend on yourself figuring out that clarity for yourself, right? It doesn't
Took longer
just
than 3 months, I can tell you
yeah,
that.
and sometimes that's the way it is, and I'd say like that's probably the norm, right? It really does. It's something you kind of have to earn, right? That vision, that clarity for yourself is something you do kind of have to earn. I know that's not what people want to hear a lot of times, but it has more of an emotional valence for you if you earn it to begin with, right? If you really take the time to figure out what that is and maybe make some mistakes on the way getting there, like, failing through that, it makes it more powerful for you, more real for you. So,
Oh, 100%. So that was what I was saying. It's a long story, and the details that I was giving about like who I am and where I've been is that testament, is that I gave you a quick 4 year snapshot without giving you all of it. And I left out a lot. Like there are multiple businesses that I've been a part of that, I personally started or I've started with somebody, and we've had 7 businesses fail
hmm
in that time. And they were all different businesses until
yep,
I actually figured out which lane I'm supposed to be in, where I'm supposed to be at, and where I go. And you can't get that in the beginning, and you can't get that just by listing out the things that you don't want. Those
yep,
are going to be things that come in time. I
yep,
never thought that I'd be coaching, especially when I first started this path.
yep,
Never thought that.
yep. Well,
There's,
and
yeah,
you doing that, well, and then you doing the coaching, like it's like anything. If you're teaching other people, you learn it and really internalize it for yourself too, and really learn it on a deep level, not just
oh,
surface level, right? So teaching other people is a great way to help. I would say that's a great way for you, one, to learn something, but also help you get clarity as well. Because in teaching other
mhm.
people and speaking to other people and learning from other people, that can help you in your path to finding your clarity. But so beyond all that, so we know like, okay, we need to figure out what we want and where we're going, but it's more than just figuring out that North Star of where you want to be and what you want to end up, your situation, what you want it to end up being. But you've got to figure out your identity in that place, right? You've got to, and this is what I didn't understand, and I'm still learning this, but that identity, in other words, who is it the person that you're going to have to become to get to that spot? Because if you don't have that identity connection to your North Star, you're just going to be shooting blind. You're just going to be like, trying how does it get put? You have to have the personal mindset change before the wealth comes, or before that, and maybe it's not wealth. Like some people have different, destinations they're trying to get to, but whatever that is, you've got to tie that identity into that place that you're trying to get to. So I'll get into that a little bit more,
Oh,
but
100%. And
yeah,
you know, even a mic drop line for, and you can take this as well if you'd like.
yeah,
When you are going into whether entrepreneurship, whether you're either building your own business or building a business with somebody else, you're not building a business, you're building yourself.
yeah,
And a lot of people jump right into, I'm building this business, I'm doing this and I'm doing that.
yep,
Watch how much things start to change and like, oh, I'm building myself to get to this level and have those types of conversations with the people around you.
yep, yep. Well, so in well, yeah, I guess that's a good point. That's actually a good point. So for me, having that, like getting up in the morning, or just spending part of the day even, and quietly kind of reflecting on what the direction I'm going, it really, the reason it's so important at the end of the day is because we're if we're just spending a bunch of time doing busy work and doing the things that, maybe is just keeping us busy but isn't moving the needle, then we're doing ourselves a disservice, first of all. But we're also kind of fighting ourselves in that, if that makes sense, right? While we're doing all that busy work, we're in conflict with where we're actually trying to get to, if you don't have clarity. And and I know that sounds a little bit weird. It's like, well, no, I mean, like, look, I do stuff, I do what I need to do to get my work done during the day or whatever, but yeah, but are you doing the right work, right? Are you doing the right kind of work, and are you doing the work that's actually moving the needle forward? And we've heard this multiple times, and multiple different, people have talked about this, but what I really like about having the clarity of where you're trying to get to is that once you have that, the work is no longer work. You're literally getting pulled towards it, if that makes sense, right? Instead of fighting yourself like, oh, I gotta go do this work. Sorry, my dog's barking her head off. But if every day you're like, ah, I gotta go, I have to go do this. There's gonna be monotonous stuff you got to do every day, right? Regardless, there's gonna be the boring stuff, the crap that you have to get done that nobody wants to do, that's not fun. But if you have that in your mind, that direction you're going, like all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, I've got to get there as fast as humanly possible. Like I want to be there right now. And so it's gonna pull you into the work and doing the work, and it just gets easier. That part of it becomes easier, right?
Yeah.
So that's
Do you mind if I
yeah,
point something out real quick that Pansy
yeah,
just said in the chat?
yeah, yeah,
Because she said still building, learning, and growing.
yeah,
And I believe this was the part where you were mentioning like people like, oh, I have to go do this.
yeah.
And she said, I get to. And I love that. And I
I
love
get to.
hearing
That's a good, yeah,
people say that.
yeah, yeah,
Because that'll be a huge shift to even being able to use that
yeah,
term in
yeah.
and of itself.
It's hard to use that term, man, when you've got
Yeah.
like when you got to do like 6 months worth of accounting.
Yeah.
It's really freaking hard to use that term. But I'm
Oh
telling
man.
you, even though I had 6 months worth of accounting to do, I got it done because I'm thinking about like where it's taking me. Like that, just that thought alone is like, it's screwed. I'm gonna take my Saturday and I'm gonna do it, you know?
It's
And
it's the same as opening up a role within the business
yeah,
when you're not necessarily ready to bring somebody into it, but doing the work to start actually putting the processes together and
yeah,
the required documentation to put somebody in there. I used to think that way. It's like, man, now I have to go do this and I have to do that and I have to do this. Like, no, actually, I I'm grateful enough to be in the position where I get to do this because now I can start setting it up to actually bring somebody in to take it over, and I'm not going to have to I'm not going to have to do it forever. I just have to do it for now to get things going. And this is what's going to move the needle forward.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I would end that with hard work or consistent work and clarity equals actually getting results and actually getting the outcomes that you're after, right? And but coupling that with like the right kind of work too,
Yeah.
right? And then but again, on the same token, like hard work minus clarity equals you're exhausted. Actually, this is a point I wanted to make. It's you're making hundreds of decisions every day, regardless. We're constantly making decisions, and making a decision is not just, oh, I'm making a decision. It takes resources. Like it takes energy. You're thinking about you're coming up with ideas, you're comparing ideas, you're thinking of worst case scenarios. Like this all takes energy from you.
Oh, even deciding not to do something or not make a decision is
Yes.
a
Oh my
decision in and
God.
of itself.
Yes. Yes.
We were kind of talking about this, and I threw that in the chat. The last podcast that you guys did when you were talking about, that, and then rolling it into this decision fatigue. And
Yes.
David Lamb, I don't know if you guys know who he is, spectacular individual.
Yeah.
We were just talking about this exact topic earlier as well, and he pulled
Decision
up,
fatigue. Yep.
yeah, and he pulled up
It's real.
statistics. We make about 10,000 decisions a day.
Yep.
240 of those decisions alone are about food.
Isn't that
Yeah,
crazy? It's
yeah,
fucking
exactly.
crazy.
But if you think about that scale, if we make 10,000 decisions a day, if we are using 20% of our mental capacity just as a flat line, like without doing, I can lay in bed, I can just sit there all day and I'm using 20% of my
Yeah, it's
mental
crazy. That's
capacity
crazy.
before I even started. Let
Yeah.
that sink into what happens when you are putting yourself in this position where you're such a busy body, just
Yeah.
wanting to move as quick as you can without actually having any of that clarity, what that truly does to you.
Yeah, you know what? And this like just the fact that you spend that much energy and brain power thinking about food. Imagine the energy and brain power you're using making all the other decisions about work or about things that you need to get done that are totally not worth the time. Or they're maybe not even not worth the time, but are not going to get you where you need to go, right? And so if I can tie this back to the identity and the clarity, the vision of where you're going and your identity, once you have that identity figured out, like, oh, I know who I'm gonna have to be in order to get to this North Star that I've got in my mind. Once you have that linked, all of a sudden decisions start to get there is no decision. It's like, oh, I've got to do this if I want to get to that point. There's no decision. I got to do it. Like you're not spending any time in conflict with yourself going, should I do that or should I spend time doing this? Like, no, it's like, no, I have to do this.
Like
Like
Panji said, I get to do this
I
because
get
it's
to do
actually
this.
going to
Yeah.
get me
Yeah.
to be able to travel,
Yeah. Yeah. I get to do this, but I've got to do it also, right? You get to do it, but you've got to do it. Um, and so anyway, that's kind of if we're gonna talk about like the clarity tax. That's really the clarity tax. If you don't have that and you don't have your identity linked up with where you're trying to go, that taxes that energy, that decision making energy that you're wasting on a daily basis, um, just trying to decide what to focus your time on, right? It's
Yeah.
like it really like once you understand that component of this, it's and actually one of the things, James, that you've helped me a tremendous amount with, and even though it's kind of, I don't want to say it's not trivial, but even though it was kind of a small touch point that we made during one of our discussions, having that outcome-based mindset of like taking it into your days, like thinking about where you're the outcome that you want for that day, as opposed to thinking about tasks, man, that saved me just a shitload of time.
Oh, just that one shift, and some
Oh
people takes a
man.
little bit longer than others.
Yeah.
Um, that alone
Well, it
can
took me a
really,
while. It did. It took me a
yeah.
while. Yeah.
Don't let me fool you. It took me a while as well.
Yeah.
It took quite a
Yeah.
bit of work. to get there. But even with that, it makes delegation so much easier.
Yep.
It makes that internal dialogue so much easier.
Yep. You're not, you're no longer, and again, I'm a big, I how should I put this? I'm extremely guilty of this, but like getting lost in the to-do list. Do you know what I mean? Like the
I got a
day-to-day
honey-do
to-do
list
list. And I
that
really thought, having a to-do list would really help me get more productive. But it really just did the opposite in a lot of ways, right? And it could just be because I was doing the to-do list wrong, but I think it was because I was focused on tasks on a daily basis, as opposed to what are the results I want today, right? So let's change it up just a little bit. Let's talk about busyness because this is something like we're still kind of talking about business, but let's in that like busyness is not a business strategy, right?
yeah.
Like, and this was and this is actually kind of a good segue, but I know it's kind of uncomfortable because we've been conditioned, a lot of us have been conditioned with this sort of hustle culture, if you
Mhm.
will, right? Where you've got, social media and people, I don't know how to even say this, but the way entrepreneurship is kind of discussed, right? In the public forums, like it's being busy and getting 3 hours of sleep and all of
Pushing
this is
7 days.
is the same as being productive. Like people trying to keep up with a Pace Morby who's up at 3 in the morning and going through his emails and stuff like that. It's like that's him, right?
But
If that
that's what he chose to do that day as well.
exactly, that's what he chose to. He
Yeah.
got to do that because maybe doesn't need that much sleep. Maybe he got plenty of sleep and that his body woke him up at 3 in the morning. But you got people trying to keep up with that. And but again, the discussion is like, hey, just being busy and grinding and grinding and grinding all day long is the same as being productive, but it's not. Well, I think we all know that, right? And so in other words, like having a packed calendar, right, means you're growing your business, which does we all know that doesn't equal the same thing, right? Having a packed calendar and doing a bunch of busy work does not mean you're growing your business. So always being on the move, and this goes to like going to all of the Zooms, going to all of the meetups, like is not the same thing as growing your business, right?
Mm. And if you don't have that identity and you don't have that destination, you can't intentionally be busy. And I say air quotes or do the air quotes around busy.
Yeah.
Because yeah, we have that hustle culture. I know people look at me like I have 3 heads when we talked about the cadence builder and like trying to plan out
Yeah.
what could be the ideal perfect week. I always get looked at like I have 3 heads when I tell people you're going to pick one day off out of the 7 days of the week.
Oh
You're
man,
not
that's
going to do
so
anything.
good too.
You're
Yeah.
not going to do anything.
Yeah. That and by the way, that is so even though it sounds like, oh, I can just take a day off and no big deal, it is so hard when you're trying to run or build a business. Taking that one day off is not as easy as it might sound. I think maybe for folks who are entrepreneurs or doing it already, you probably already instinctually know that. You're like, oh, take a day off. Like, what are you talking about? We don't get to take a day off.
Yeah, and I don't
But
mean like go be lazy, sit on the couch all day long. Like
right.
still, yeah, do your movement, do your workouts, the other habits if you're reading and all of that, but take a break from the actual cognitive thinking, take a
Yeah.
break from everything that you're doing with your
Yeah,
cognitive.
Justin, I've been telling you that from the beginning.
Yeah,
Well, hey, you know what? And it's hard for me. It's really hard for me to do that because one reason is because boundaries, right? So you
yeah,
got people that think that they just are you know, your time, they're just guaranteed your time. So that's the one thing that I've had to do, like even as of lately, which is set boundaries with family. Like, hey, guess what? On these days, non-negotiable, you're unless you give me a lot of lead time, you're not guaranteed that I'm just gonna be available that day. Unless it's an emergency. That's what I say too. Unless it's like an absolute emergency, these days, don't even bother unless you've given me a lot of lead time, right?
yeah.
To plan
Well,
around it, right?
Boundaries are huge. Is there
Yeah.
anybody that's in the Zoom right now? Throw one in the chat if you're either playing or have played the connector role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
I know you. Yeah, I know you, Pansy.
For
Pansy,
sure.
you're also effective at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
so we got a
can,
bunch of ones there.
yeah. Yeah.
Look, I've tried that as well. And Justin, I'm so glad that you brought up boundaries because when you do try to play the connector role, and I know a lot of people want to build their business model around it, it's very easy to lose grip on those boundaries. I always say that because I've been there myself. I tried to play that role for months actually until somebody told me like, dude, clear your calendar and stop everything that you're
Yeah.
doing because you're not gonna go anywhere with that.
Yeah.
And it was that constant make yourself available for everybody because you feel like you have to be available in order to get things moving. Dude, I've been that guy where I've had Zooms scheduled from 8 in the morning after I got home from dropping my son off to school till almost 5 to 6 days out of the week. I was scheduled out till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And
That's
then I try to get a
crazy.
couple hours of sleep and then I wake up and do it
It's
again
crazy.
just to
Yeah.
try to, be there for people because I
Yeah.
wanted to make those connections and I wanted to move things for people.
Yeah.
It's a whole different ball game when you can get clear and you
Well, that's
understand.
yeah, that's why I like where you talk about this is like, how about plan the day that you want to have instead of the day that you are trying to have for other people, right?
Yeah.
How about plan the day that you actually want to have or the week that you actually want to have, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
And
no,
most people are afraid to set those boundaries. They're
yeah,
afraid of, well,
yeah.
that person's not going to talk to me again, or you know what's funny? Because I utilize that with the way that I do things now. Like I don't have appointment setters and I have closers now. I do all of my own conversations and I do it very intentionally for that reason.
Mm,
But with that, being able to set the boundaries, even when people reach out to me and want to jump on, it's like, okay, great. Here's 2 to 3 times that I have available. Do one of those windows work?
yeah,
No, one of
that's
those windows don't work. Okay, great. What does the next week look like?
yep,
Oh, okay, great.
yep,
You have Tuesday? Perfect. I've got this time to this time that I can be flexible on Tuesday, something in there work. Yeah, that works.
yeah,
Am I jumping on with them 2 weeks later than I wanted to? Yeah, I am. But it's going to be a lot better of a conversation rather than trying to fit it into an already busy schedule and everything else that I'm trying to do. People are receptive when you set boundaries.
yeah, 100%. That's what I was actually just gonna say. You know, you'd mentioned, oh, well, I'm worried that person's not gonna talk to me again. You actually find out the opposite's true. People actually respect your time more when you
Yeah.
start doing that. And that's why I have to keep telling myself people are not just guaranteed access to me, right? You don't just get guaranteed access to me because I'm your friend or because like, you're in my family. Like I have a life and I'm trying to accomplish something and you have to put those boundaries up otherwise people will take advantage of it. And that's what you're saying too. You started scheduling out these crazy weeks or these crazy days until 3 in the morning. Answer me this question. Did people start expecting that of you?
Oh yeah.
After a
I,
while? Yeah.
and it's funny too because sometimes I'll still have that. There'll be somebody that'll reach out and I'm like, all right, what is your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday look like? They're like, oh, I'll hit you back Wednesday morning. I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, but my time's not going to be available. And then they'll call. They'll call me on Messenger, a messenger
Yeah.
call.
Yep.
They're like a random time, and I'm like, hey, sorry, but I let you know what my schedule looks like the rest of the week. I've got to pick a time in there. I have everything that I do is actually scheduled out. So in order for us to actually jump on, we've got to be within that schedule. I don't have room at the moment to be able to do anything outside of that. And then if they still can't respect that anyway, this is probably isn't somebody that you want to be working with.
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that. So now that we know, okay, look, you've got a set of vision to the point where, and I'm telling you guys to the point where, and one of the mentors that I learned this idea or this kind of strategy from, actually, I wouldn't even call it a strategy, just a mode of being. When you know or when you can visualize that North Star that you're trying to get to or that you are working towards, what he does, he'll literally go. I think one of his examples was okay, him and his wife, he wanted to move to Italy. they wanted to or not just move to Italy, but they wanted to live there for a few years. They wanted to move to Italy, live there for a few years. So this was like a goal that he had set for him and his wife. He would literally go on his back porch, and I did the last episode, I kind of talked about this a little bit too, but he went on his back porch every day. Like in the morning, he'd make his coffee and he would go sit on the back porch and let the sun kind of shine on his face. And he would sit there, close his eyes, drink his coffee, and pretend he was sitting at a coffee shop in Rome, right? And he did that every day, and to the point where it became so real and like so vivid for him that doing the things that he needed to do to get him and his wife there, he started really taking massive action towards that. And it wasn't hard for him to do it. It was just like, I need to be there. Right. And so that's without that, you're paying that hidden cost of not being clear and not having that clarity. So we know you got to have a North Star. You know, you got to, well, my dog's gonna start barking her head off now. You know, you got to have that, and you know, we got to tie the identity to it. Otherwise, you know, you're going to be fighting yourself. You're going to be fighting on the decisions that you're trying to make.
Yeah.
Once you have that, all of a sudden there is no decision. It's just decisions become a lot easier. So, and look, we've covered a lot. I know there's like a lot of levels to this, but I would challenge everybody that that's the code we're talking about. The code is literally take the time to figure out what it is you actually want. And I guarantee you, if you start asking people you're planning on partnering with, people you meet, you ask them what they want, listen to what people say. Because a lot of times it's not very deep, it's not very clear, and you'll also find out a lot of times they'll tell you things they don't want. So pay attention to, you know, because that's also how you're going to know, are you aligned with the people you're partnering with? Do you guys both have a similar vision of where you're trying to get to? Like Pansy wants to travel, right? I love working remote. I want to travel too. I probably don't want to travel as much as Pansy, but I would definitely like to travel. So we're aligned on that. And we both are aligned on we know we want to help people, right? We know we want to have something that truly gives people the help that they need. And also we know we want to build our portfolios. We know what that looks like, right? So if you don't know that about the people you're working with, I would challenge you to ask the people that you're working with that question and listen to the responses that they give you, right? So, and then the busyness part, as you start gaining that clarity, what would you say before, because I know we're getting towards the end here, like what would you say, I mean, what would be the advice you would give folks to help them really help them achieve that clarity, that vision of where they're trying to get to? I know you gave some examples, but are there any maybe other tips you would have for people to help them kind of not just the vision of where they're trying to get to, but really having that clear picture in their mind and that identity kind of tied to it? What kind of tips would you give folks for that?
I would say do the picture exercise and then attach an emotion to that. Like how do
Yeah,
you actually feel
yeah,
in the picture that you just painted?
yeah,
And I know we mentioned talking about like not listing out the things that you don't want, but also try to attach the emotion to that picture if that does not become the reality.
yeah, yeah.
And you'd be very
That's a good point.
surprised at what happens with your motive thinking when you're thinking about that being the reality versus that not being the reality. You can bring back to how do I now find those emotions
Yeah,
from that picture?
yeah,
The things that I'm doing right now, which pieces of it give me those same emotions,
yeah,
gives me those same feelings. And now we kind of know at least the starting point with where we're at right now, what to double down on. And we also give ourselves the opportunity to understand the people that we truly need to be seeking out in order to actually get there.
yeah. That's really interesting. So tying the emotion to it is a definitely a big one for me because I honestly I had trouble, especially early on, trying to think of that, where like really spent the time thinking about where what do I want, where I'm trying to get to. Having that clear visual of it was a little challenging, but when I put the emotion, when I tied the like how I'm gonna feel and
Yeah.
how it feels, like forget how it's going to feel. How does it feel? Pretend you're there right now. Pretend you're in it right now. How does that feel? I actually did a this is kind of the inverse of this, but I did a hypnosis session. They have these guys online that'll, they have YouTube videos and they'll all you got to do is put your headphones in and they'll do like a hypnosis session with like a guided hypnosis. And one of the things that it was a procrastination thing. And the whole time he's taking you through this he's walking you through this thing visually. He's walking you through what it's going to feel like to be there, then at towards the end of this guided meditation, he starts asking you or talking about feel the feeling of not achieving it. Feel the feeling of what it's going to feel like if you don't get there. You of feel the feeling of what it's going to feel like when you look back and it's been 10 years and you're still in the same spot, right? And you're just like, "Oh crap." Right?
Yeah.
So the whole point is like he's trying to get you off your ass basically, right? You
Yeah.
stop the procrastination, but it really does when you start tying the emotion to it, you're like, "Oh crap, I need to stop putting this off," right? All of a sudden now there's a time frame. Like time actually matters now, right?
Not
So
only that, your internal compass, it's amazing what ends up happening to your internal compass.
yeah,
And I know Pansy's brought this up before as well. And I definitely know that Pansy's the type is like, there's a wrong and an off feeling. It's like, nope.
yeah,
You can see that a little bit more clearly
yeah,
when you actually
Catherine.
go through the exercises like these and you watch the videos like that, or you go, end up going through the hypnosis. You start to pick up on that really quick, and that's going to be a really good indicator of like, this is what I should or should not do.
Yeah,
And when you're tying that to the picture of where you're going, it creates such a powerful link to where it's like, once you feel the emotion, you already know that this isn't moving a needle before you're, 6, 7, 8 months into it, and then
yes,
realizing that it's
Can
yeah,
I
not
say
actually.
something?
of
When you
course.
were talking about like when you really could visualize something
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
get that feeling, honestly, like I've had where it's overwhelming because it's like, oh my gosh, I seen it so clearly that it could happen and that it's possible. And it's like right there. And it just like kind of, you know, set me back, kind of, like, oh crap, am I ready for this? you
Yeah.
know? So
Well,
if you
that's a
could,
good thing though, right?
yeah, I mean, it is, yeah. But I'm just saying, if you could get to that point where you actually do like really visualize it that well
Yeah,
and know that it's possible,
yeah.
it could be kind of a little bit of an overwhelming feeling at first
You
because,
can for sure.
like I seen all of the responsibility that came with all of it at the same time, like, holy, this is
And,
bigger than I thought it would be,
Yeah, like
you know?
all the people now that depend on you and like all this, like
Hmm.
all the,
yeah,
yeah, but you know what though? I would say that you need to have that conversation with yourself because, and then once you feel that overwhelming feeling, ask yourself, is this coming from a place of fear or is it coming from a place of like love and, motivation, right? Like, where is it coming from?
Hmm.
Because if
that,
it's fear, then don't let that guide you,
yeah.
right? Because it can steer you away from your dream. Like, oh crap, am I ready? Will I be ready for this? Like,
Hmm.
yeah, you will be ready for it. You will.
Hmm.
Angie, I love that you brought that up too, because that's something that a lot of people don't think about. But and this is the leadership side of me talking too, is a lot of the times people underestimate or don't realize the amount of responsibility that actually comes with that vision and that picture.
Hmm.
And that's a really good way to kind of pinpoint the identity that you need to be in that to to actually be living out that picture as well. And you can ask yourself, like, is the individual that I am right now an individual that can handle that
Mhm.
responsibility, or is that an individual that I can grow into so
Yeah.
that when I am there in 15 years, I can handle those responsibilities?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, when I titled this podcast episode like why busy people stay broke, I wasn't necessarily talking about, I know broke has like no money
The
connotations, but
financial, yeah.
yeah, but it's not just broke with no, it's not no money. There's plenty of people who are broke emotionally, who are broke in their, with their family or broke. There's a lot of different versions of broke, right? So I wasn't just talking about necessarily financially, right? And so I'm just gonna kind of sum this up, like, because we are at the end here, but most people stay broke because their energy is really, it's just their misdirected energy, a misdirected vision and identity. And the opportunities are unfiltered, right? Their capital scattered, or because there's no clarity driving their decisions. So every day without clarity, you pay a tax. We talked about this is the clarity tax, right? In time, in relationships, in your decision making, the energy it takes for you to make your decisions, confidence, and in compounding your it all compounds, right? Over time. So the root cause underneath all of it is really it's a vision and an identity gap, right? A clear vision and an identity gap. The distance between who you are today and who you have to become to get to where you're trying to get to, right? The fix, obviously, we discussed what that fix is. The fix is coming up with that clarity, right? The three parts of this, right? Having the vision of where you're trying to get to, the identity, and, you know, and then decision, cutting back on your decisions. All of a sudden, like now there is no decision, right? Um, so that's really it. That's the code. And again, if you have trouble with the vision part of it, like visualizing it, get the emotions in there. And I really liked James's using a picture and really and tying the emotion to that picture, right? So anyway, I think that's pretty much it. Unless anybody has questions for those who are with us right now, if you guys have any questions, raise your hands. I'll be happy to bring you up here. But if not, James, I really appreciate you, man. Thank you for being here.
I mean,
And
I appreciate you. I appreciate both of you guys.
I,
Appreciate you guys.
yeah, I
Appreciate
mean,
you, James.
Appreciate
yeah,
you, Pansy.
appreciate you, Pansy. And by the way, we could go deep on there's a number of these topics we could go deep on, like I could go for an hour just talking about the vision side of it. I know you could too.
There's
I
been like
enjoy talking.
30 or 40 that have come up
Yeah,
just
yeah,
on this. And
yeah,
even Pansy was bringing stuff up too.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, I like your you said stop doing amazing things, then stop doing amazing things. Sorry, I was reading the side chat. No, this was really fun, and we'll do it again. And please come back because there's more of these topics I would love to get your insight on. Because again, folks, if you don't know who James is, go check him out. And by the way, James, how can people get in touch with you?
The quickest, easiest, and most effective way is going to be either Instagram or Facebook. I keep my handles are the James Zieger, my first and last name.
Mhm.
I try to keep it simple. I didn't want to do anything fancy or crazy and make people have to copy
I
and
was the
paste
same
things.
way. Yeah,
Yeah.
same way. Okay, so the James Zieger for at Instagram is there, and then do you have a website, James, or that people can go to?
I do have a website. I do have to change a couple things on there, but I can most
Okay.
certainly drop it in the chat if that's okay.
Of course, yeah, and for folks listening afterwards, I'll put it in the description. But yeah, just DM James. He'll get to you, and he'll get back to you when he can. But he's an amazing resource for those you struggle, especially for those struggling on the organization of your business or the finding that vision, finding that clarity. He can help with some of those things. So definitely hit James up. So
I appreciate that.
yeah, man. Well, it's working for me. And there's look, you know, the your trainings are really starting to help me see things from a different perspective, see things and running not just a business, but my day to day, just my personal life, right? And organizing my personal life, it's helping me with. So yeah,
I
that's
truly
that's
appreciate that. It's
yeah,
one of the the biggest things, and even to answer your question from earlier is what you truly want. A lot of mine is very selfish. I'll be straightforward and honest. I love helping people. The best way that I've learned to be able to help people is to be able to change the way that they think, not tell them what to think, but kind of change how they think, uh,
yeah.
and hopefully leave people off in a better place and doing better things.
Look, I know I needed it. I needed a different perspective. I think a lot of us may not even know that we need it, but a lot of times getting a different perspective and having, just maybe humbleness is not the right word, but just having the self understanding or the able to self reflect in such a way allows you to see in yourself the things that are the gaps, the things that you're missing, right? And being humble enough to know that you don't know everything and
Yep.
that maybe somebody else might know a little bit more than you about something and could give you a different, not
Oh,
just
100.
perspective, but a totally different trajectory.
Yeah.
Um, and again,
And
I think somebody was asking for the hypnosis link that I was talking about. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking for. I'll get that if you were, that's what you were asking for. I'll get you the link to that. But hypnosis is very, very powerful too. But just like anything else, if you approach it with, this is kind of hooey. If
yeah.
you approach it with that attitude, just like anything else, you're right. It's not going to work. It is hooey. You're right. But if you approach it with an open mind,
Whether you think it'll work or you think it won't, you're right.
yep,
Right.
yep,
Yeah.
yep,
You speak the reality into existence for
Hmm.
yourself.
yep.
And yeah, that a whole nother rabbit hole. That's a whole nother, another
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
episode.
for
Get that
sure. For
later,
sure.
people.
Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and end it. Hey, James, thank you so much. I'm Justin. Pansy's in the background today, but we appreciate all you guys. Thank you guys for being
Appreciate
here.
everyone.
And we will be back next week. We'll see you guys again soon.